We got an epic battle of the fraudsters going at it, y'all. I enjoy this very much. So, George Santos came out and said that Kyrsten Sinema showed him some support. And then Kyrsten Sinema, when she hears this story, comes out and goes, I didn't say that at all. I have no idea what he's talking about. So, title immediate, this is a blatant lie. Sinema's office says George Santos was full of it when he said she spoke to him. A spokesperson for Senator Kyrsten Sinema said the senator did not speak to embattled Representative George Santos, who claimed she told him to, quote, hang in there, buddy, before the State of the Union address. Since his election, Santos has been exposed as a serial liar who has fabricated much of his life story, including his schools, employers, ancestry, and virtually anything else one can think of. But by the way, I'm so distracted by this thing. This looks like a giant ball sack in our face. What even is that? No, go back to that other thing. What was that? Jesus Christ. There was like a giant ball sack that looked like a punching bag or something. Anyway, on Tuesday, he attended President Joe Biden's State of the Union address, where his status as a congressional pariah was crystal clear. In one tense exchange, Santos approached Senator Mitt Romney. You guys know this whole story with Mitt Romney, where he basically says, like, you know, you're embarrassing. So, according to Santos, though, he told him, quote, you're an ass. And the congressman replied, you're a much bigger asshole. Okay. I tried to do some lip reading of that. It seemed to me like at one point Romney says, like, it's embarrassing or you're embarrassing, something like that. And you don't belong here. According to Mitt Romney, that's what he said to George Santos. Now, look, we all know, like, why would Romney say that? Because Mitt Romney is like the old school aristocrat type of Republican. Like, yes, I went to all the right schools. I was in the proper fraternity. I am a nobleman of honor and grace. I served the military-industrial complex in Wall Street with pride. So he's the old school, like, backslapping cocktail room type of Republican. He views them as like high class and proper with good manners and civility. And so you got this asshole who comes out of nowhere, who's just a total liar, who makes the Republican Party look ridiculous, and he's offended by it. Now, of course, the hilarious counterpoint is, well, Mitt Romney didn't feel embarrassed by, like, George W. Bush starting illegal wars and doing torture and crashing the economy. Right? He was critical of Trump to one extent or another, but for similar reasons, because Trump is like a crass guy who has no filter, and he views that as like very low class and barbarian and savage-like. But, of course, look, overall, on this particular point, of course Mitt Romney's right. George Santos is, a pathological liar. Like, there's some screws loose. There's some wiring that's off, dog. Nobody can lie this much and just like, it's a whoopsie, or it's a little fib, it's a little exaggeration. No, you're like the world's biggest liar. So Santos claimed that Sinema came up to him and said, quote, hang in there, buddy. And Santos says that Kyrsten Sinema was, quote, very polite, very kind-hearted. So Sinema's office comes out and says, this is a blatant lie. Kyrsten Sinema didn't say a word to Representative Santos and didn't even know about the exchange with Senator Romney until they got to their seats. Sinema also denied any conversation took place and slammed Newsweek for running a story taking Santos's word for it. Quote, you publish their lies for clicks, she tweeted. Journalism used to be about the truth, but today Americans can't count on an objective truth. Santos faces bigger problems than public scoldings. He gave his campaign a $705,000 loan just 2 years after reporting he had no assets and a $55,000 salary. He's reportedly under state and federal investigation. Look, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think Santos is going to jail. I do. I think he's going to be in prison. He embarrassed the system. And the system won't forget that. So I do think ultimately he'll end up in jail. So look, this gets to the question, and I'll ask you guys too. You guys tell me what you think. Who's telling the truth here? Is it Santos or is it Kyrsten Sinema? Now, understand something. We're being very hard on Santos here, rightfully so. But Kyrsten Sinema is also a colossal liar. She's given interviews to local media in Arizona where she gets on her high horse and she acts like, I'm just a maverick and everything I do, I put the working people of Arizona front and center. That's all I care about. And then, of course, what did she do? She voted against the $15 minimum wage, for example, and made a big show of it and did her little tee-hee-hee, tee-hee-hee, screw the poor, tee-hee-hee. She also took $1 million from Big Pharma during the Build Back Better negotiations. And then she killed lower prescription drug prices for all Americans. She came in and said, no, what if we only lower some prescription drug prices and we only do it for seniors on Medicare? So you can't say I'm looking out for working people if you're in favor of higher drug prices because of corruption. You can't say you're looking out for working people when you killed a $15 minimum wage increase. To be fair, it was like 7 or 8 Democrats who were against that, but she was one of the, most prominent ones who was front and center. So she's just a liar. She's a liar. And she's a scoundrel. And she used to be a Green Party person, and then she became one of the most conservative, if not the most conservative Democrats in the entire country. She's a careerist. She's a ladder climber. Eventually, she'll probably dip out of politics and go get paid as a lobbyist. Make $1 million or $2 million a year to sit on her ass and use the connections that she built while she was in Washington, D.C. She is the definition of that revolving door corruption. So don't get it twisted. Kyrsten Sinema is also a colossal liar. George Santos lies about stuff interpersonally, about his story and things of that nature. And Kyrsten Sinema lies about things systemically, about her intentions and her motivations. And the fact of the matter is, she's for sale to the highest bidder, period. That's who Kyrsten Sinema is. She's not like the media misses it. Oh, she's just a centrist. She's just a moderate Democrat. No, you're just using fancy words to try to explain away the fact that she's the most corrupt Democrat, arguably even more corrupt than Joe Manchin. Okay, so having said all that, who do you believe? Look, I'll tell you, unless George Santos releases evidence of Kyrsten Sinema on video saying something to him, then I got to go with Sinema on this one. I do, because Santos lies about everything. So Kyrsten Sinema tells big lies that have big consequences, but George Santos lies about everything. So I tend to believe Sinema on this. But having said that, look, if video comes out of Sinema saying anything to George Santos, then I might immediately flip and say maybe Santos is telling the truth. Because according to her, I didn't say a word to this guy at all. So if there's a video of her even saying a couple words to him, well, then all of a sudden George Santos may be telling the truth for the first time in his entire life. So I guess we'll see. If you guys have seen a video of her talking to him, then let me take a look. Because then all of a sudden George Santos, for once in his life, is being honest. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.